if I like, that's not where I want the attention, or if I want to be, I don't know, hidden for some reason, I rarely wear them. Here.
I don't need that.
Yes, you do. This is for Roberto to make sure that people on YouTube can hear. So clip that to your shirt since you're first. But I have I have like, I have 3 pairs. Because I'm here that.
Call me Clippy.
And the next pair that I got.
If there is a malfunction, it will be my fault. Somehow. Put this on me.
My daughter
I'm going to do a test for Roberto. Do I have to turn it on? Can you hear me fine? Okay. Can you all hear me fine?
But I have this, and then I have a pair.
Right. Like these heckling hens over here. I need to tell you something out of love. This comes out of love.
Okay.
Yes, please take one. Hot off the presses. We appreciate you. That's it. And I slept in long underwear last night. I'll do this.
I would love to if it actually accomplished what I needed it to accomplish. I mean, I still have an industrial size fan that runs in my bedroom 24/7. Like I can't.
Hi.
Even with the air set, I gotta do my fan. There you go. There you go. I want to.
I think this thing's gonna make my pants fall down. This is not supposed to be an X-rated show, but might make my pants fall down. Just warning you. Is it time? It is time. Start. Okay.
You got the mic, so you open it up and start.
I have the mic. Hello. Hello and welcome to this month's Indivisible meeting. We are so glad to see every single face that's here. And I want to offer a smile to every single face that's here. Thanks for coming on this beautiful day. I know that you'd probably rather be sitting on your porch, sipping iced tea and whatever you might like to do. But we are glad to have you here. For my part of the meeting today, I'm going to be playing a video that John Lithgow did. And he goes over 20 lessons that we can learn from history on how to fight tyranny. And gee, I wonder why we need to know that, right? So Timothy Snyder wrote this book in 2017, right after the first election of our current person, okay? So he wrote it back then, and he saw the signs even then. Hey, this is where we might be going. We may want to pay attention. We may want to do some of these things. Okay, it didn't get a lot of attention. But right now, I think we need it more than ever. And these are very practical things. So I'm going to play this video for you. And I'll be honest, the volume is not going to be high in this room. It's a poor system that they have. I love you, library, but it is a poor system. But it is closed caption. You can go on YouTube and watch this anytime you want. It's only a little over 10 minutes. I have handouts in the front that's got, still the same handout, that have the different lessons that we need to start really paying attention to. And then after I play the video and we watch it, I'll open up the floor to any discussion anybody wants to have. So I'll let John speak for us. You have to be quiet. Sorry. I didn't know that was a thing that was going to happen. Oh, a 10-minute video? Thank you, John. Um, so it's a really small volume, guys. It's only this big. And I recommend it. I checked this out of the library here, so a good read. Anybody want to talk about anything that we heard or anything to comment about? Yes, Miss Gail. Over feeling everything. And I see day-to-day things, and I don't know because I've read history and I know history, and I go back and I say, yes, this has happened before, and this is what we've got to get ready for. I have a really hard time with getting people on board on getting ready. Right. They'll like go out and buy a toilet paper or something like that, but I'm at the point where. Do you think it's denial? Do we think people are in denial? I think people are in denial. I think that, everybody's talking about AI is going to destroy us. But I think the AI that's going to destroy us is the apathy and the ignorance that has run rampant. And it's, I don't want to say, goodness, we all want to sort of look away, right? It feels like a horror movie sometimes. And, we don't want to be like completely in the mire. And this and this and this and this, because it is one thing after another. Just find those pockets where you can recharge yourself, because you can't stay in the mire. Yes, ma'am. Yes. You can. And one thing that I think too is before we had newspapers and letters that were going through the mail, and it was slow. News traveled very slow. We have instantaneous communication now. So these ideas, both the good and the bad, can spread very quickly. And it can be hard to resist when it's snowballing so fast. But every smile you give and every bit of hope you give someone else, we're balancing the scales, y'all. We have to put that positive energy out there. We can't let it mire us down. Yes, Jude. They do. Right. Yes. Or just alone. Right. It's hard to face when you feel. Yes. And that's how we have to get through this. Get this together. Yes. So Judy was talking about how we have to realize that people that are raising children or that have real life situations they're handling, a parent with Alzheimer's, or they're living in poverty, they don't have the bandwidth to even accept. I can't look at that. I can barely juggle everything I'm juggling. And then I have to worry about this too on top of it. So, yes, we have to really watch judging people for how they're reacting to this situation, because we all have other things that you don't know, I don't know. So, just have grace, have kindness. Don't you think, and I read this too somewhere, that it's the older people who have the time and the ability and actually the money to actually come out and protest, where younger people are trying to deal with rent or mortgages and rising food costs, sure, etc. So that's why you see so many wise heads here. I've earned them all. True. But remember, the young ones, we have to get them to vote. Yeah. If we get them to do nothing else, we have to get the youngins out there to vote. And tell them that they can take 5 minutes to call the damn Congress. And give them their age. Yes. Good idea. I'm coming around so they can hear you. Speak.
I went yesterday and became a precinct person.
Thank you.
Hey. I had 2 young men that joined me.
Yay.
And the one said, I don't know if I want to do that or not. And then he looked and I said, look, man, I'm 65 years old. I said, you can do this. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to need all of you, And he said, then I'll do it, And I had kids out on that line out there on Small Road that one remembered me. He said, oh, I remember you. You helped me do a chant at the last March. And I said, oh, I didn't remember him, but because I don't remember names. I'm terrible.
Hey, you.
But he remembered me. And he said, yeah, you were really cool, And I thought, you know what? They're looking at us. They're really looking. We just got to give it to them. I mean, we got to start talking to them and talking on their level. And like you said, Ann, trying to, get them to make that telephone call. And I have a 36-year-old son just like you do, honey. And her son used to ride to school with my son. They used to ride together. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, we need to get them interested and get them going. Like there was a bunch of Newport showed up like yesterday at that meeting.
Great.
And there were a lot of young people. So we just got to get behind them and keep. The older ones need to push them. Yes. They can make time for they can't make time to go out on protest and make time. Right. They can make them. Right.
Okay. I'm going over here. Get some people in here. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm kind of looking at this from a different tactic of what people aren't doing or what they are ignoring or whatever, because my cause or my institution is immigration and the deportations, the illegal deportations that are going on, because I work with refugees and I've been working with refugees for about 3 years now. So I chose to, when I post something on Facebook, I am posting only on immigration and the travesties that are occurring. I make sure the article can be opened and read. I've subscribed to different things so that people are able to open and read the article. And it's amazing. I post a picture of my cat. I get 150 likes. I post an article about the travesties of what's happening to refugees and the temporary protective status and the deportations. I'm lucky if I get 5 rounds. But in the last 2 weeks, I can't tell you how many, and I've had several people that say, why do you keep posting that stuff? Nobody's reading it. They're just scrolling past it. But in the last 2 weeks, I've had over 10 people, because I'm keeping track, I've had over 10 people that have never remarked on anything about these come up to me and say, thank you. Thank you for posting that. I'm reading it. I'm staying informed. I just choose not to publicly acknowledge it because I'm in fear of, whatever, family, retribution, whatever it is, right? So I think that it's important that if you do things like you just said, and I've read that book on tyranny. I read it probably 2 years ago. But if you pick one thing and you stick with that one thing instead of trying to cover everything, then you are informed on that one thing, and people will listen to you on that one thing. And I think that that's how we can
Great point.
make a difference in one thing. Like
And also not be overwhelmed yourself.
Exactly. And I mean, I agree. Everything that's going on is wrong, right? I agree with everything that's going on is being wrong. But I just chose to focus on immigration and the deportations because that's what's important to me. And I feel like that's where my knowledge base is and where I can possibly make a difference.
All right, great. Thank you. Anybody else want to talk? Okay, I think we can move on to Miss Ann Dickerson. And I guess you need the magic microphone. Said microphone.
All right, we good? Yay, okay. I'm sorry to pull you all inside on such a great day. We seem to feast or famine on the weather depending on what we're doing, right? We schedule a protest, we get a tornado. We get thunderstorms and flooding. Schedule a meeting, it's nirvana outside. I mean, I walked outside and was like, oh. So I'm sorry for that. I'm going to try to get out of here early if we can. In fact, as I was planning this morning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut this down. To try to help people get out early, because I do understand. Hopefully with planning, you guys know already that the last Sunday of every month from 2 to 4 is going to be our meeting. What I've been doing is rotating it around the various libraries, trying to make it, shorter drive for some people, longer drive for others, and everything. We're probably going to end up settled somewhere in Kenton, either at Erlanger or Covington, just because it's equal opportunity for more people. And we will always have an online ability to participate. We're moving away from doing the Zoom meetings and live streaming. That's why Roberto, hi Roberto, is in the back of the room. He is helping us live stream to YouTube. So anybody can watch it in real time on YouTube, but then the recording also stays there. So that if you're doing something on one of the days that we have a meeting and you want to, you have time on a different day, then you can always go back and watch it. You can also on our YouTube channel go back in time. It's kind of funny actually, because I do it myself. To look at all the things we've done over the years, especially 2018, we were exceptionally busy. 2020, we did a lot of stuff. There's this ebb and flow going along with politics, but you can go back and see all the things that we've done, all the things that we've talked about. You may even get to the point where you're like, we've heard that before. Yes, we have. But we're growing. We're growing in numbers, which is great. I'm very inspired by the new faces that we see. I'm inspired by the people who keep coming back for more and then bringing friends with them. I think that's amazing. There's just, like Amy was talking about, and like Gail pointed out, it's becoming information overload. It's becoming all your senses heightened all the time, and nobody can sustain that for a really long period of time. Nobody. So self-care is more important than ever. If you need a break, take a break. Even if, because now we've got all these other organizations out there too. We've got Indivisible, we've got 50501, we've got the Working Families Party, we've got all of these activist groups trying to get your time, trying to get your attention, on top of the time, the attention, the energy you're already giving to the news every day. And it's like, where do I go? What do I do? I get it. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. So, and that's going to happen. I mean, what was said is that this coming Thursday is May Day. Everybody familiar what May Day is and what it represents? And there are protests going on all across the country again for May Day. Specifically, the two main focuses have been to this point speaking up about our rights being taken away, especially labor rights, the rights of the right to organize as far as a union is concerned. Safety is huge. And if you all are aware, and we talked about this a couple months ago, the Kentucky State Legislature just passed a bill this year that decreased our worker safety rights in the state of Kentucky. The state of Kentucky has very few things it can claim as number one in a positive way. We got a lot of things we can claim number one in a negative way, and we need to get rid of those. But one of the things we were really good at was workers' rights and safety, right? In the Kentucky State Legislature, what happened was we have always had, through the labor relations, we have always had a higher standard than the national average, than the national standards for worker safety in the state of Kentucky. And our supermajority decided we don't need to go the extra mile. We don't need our people to be that much safer. We're just going to lower it back to what the average is across the United States. Why? It doesn't cost you a dime to be safer. It costs you a hell of a lot more money when you're hurting people. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And there was this big push for it this year. We cannot keep that up. We cannot allow that to continue. These are the things that, we can get really loud and proud on and stay loud and proud on. Yes, sir. Sure. One of the things that they did was they decreased safety. Now this just blows my mind. Decreased safety for workers in coal mines. Right. Now hold on. Let us not have chaos. We have enough. So as much as we have this, anti-intellectualism, anti-environment, I still see those stupid license plates. Coal keeps the light on. So does solar, buddy. That's what I want to scream at these people. Coal is not coming back. The coal industry has been destroyed. During Mitch, coal has just, the family farms in Kentucky, one of the number one things that sustain Kentucky have decreased. Something like 67% under his tenure. People need to wake up, right? So what are we going to do? How are we going to do that? Well, guess what? Now they're limited to how many people, how many emergency responders can show up at a coal mine if there's an accident. Who sits there and goes, there's only 20 people trapped in that mine. They can have one responder. What? Who does that? Who thinks that's appropriate? These are the kinds of things that we need to speak up about. And one of the things that was mentioned in Amy's video about tyranny, we need to start speaking up in a very specific way. Like it said, pick an issue. Pick something that's very important to you and speak up whenever you hear it. And tell people, this is wrong. We need to fight this. Never before in our history have we had an instance where our rights keep getting taken away. And that's what we're seeing. It's like they want to erase the 20th century. Everything that happened in the 20th century, civil rights, women's rights, environmental research, everything that we tried to do to make things better for the human beings on this planet is being stripped. So that this country can be ruled by 940 billionaires who are deliberately manipulating the market today where you lose and they win. And it's got to stop. Yes, ma'am. They're doing what? Right. And they're taking it out. You know, the number of things that I've seen, and again, I'm just like all of you, trying to keep up with every little thing is daunting. And you're absolutely right. That's the point. It is to overwhelm people. It is to make you feel, make you think, make you believe. This is too much.
You think knew that when they removed references to PEI and all that, we included the word woman?
Here's what I think with, you're heading into a territory, and I know I'm like way off topic, but I enjoy this back and forth a lot and getting people involved and talking and telling me what you want us to do, what you want to focus on, what information you need. You know, there's only so much we can do and come up with on our own. And this sure as hell isn't any kind of authoritarian organization. All I can do is throw stuff out there and catch what comes back in, and let's work on it together. When it comes to DEI, one thing that I will say is this. The courts are coming back in our favor. Every court so far, they are coming back against removing DEI initiatives at the K through 12 education level, and various other ways. I can't even keep up with all the court battles. There's just so many. I do, well,
I mean, I know that was a very thing, but I think one of the reasons why they're
yes.
wanting to go that direction as quick as they have is because of all this.
Right. And for those who can't hear on YouTube, one thing Erin pointed out is that she believes, and I totally agree, that's why we have escalated to the point of judges being arrested. They're frustrated because they have found the one body that's been able to limit them. And so now they're going to attack that body. Right? One of the things that I want to make sure that we do, since our upcoming protest on Thursday has to do, is right out in front of the federal courthouse, along with standing up for workers' rights and immigrant rights. I'm sorry I didn't mention that before. Those were the original two focuses, right? Now we need to add protecting the courts to that. The courts are our main stopgap. I've not been, I was always, I don't know, how much of a nerd you guys are compared to me when it comes to keeping up with this stuff. I remember when Chief Justice John Roberts was sworn in. Anybody else? Looked at him standing there, and there's just something about him. I don't know what it was. Kind of like, George W. himself was like, I really don't agree with you on anything, but you probably won't be too bad, right? Haven't we all had that discussion with ourselves, right? Doesn't matter if you're talking city council or county commissioner, state legislator, whatever. You're all going, I think maybe I could live with that. Yeah, okay. He's a smart guy. You read his CV and you're impressed. You're like, okay, here's somebody who knows the law. And now you look today and go, what the F? What the F? Here is a man who just, some of the decisions he's made. And I've said for the last at least 8 years, he single-handedly, courts often go down in history under the name of the Chief Justice, right? You have the Brandeis Court, what have you. Now you've got the Roberts Court. The first thing the Roberts Court will be remembered for was the horrific Citizens United, That hangs around his neck for all eternity. I'm sorry, a business is not a person, should not be considered a person, doesn't have feelings or thoughts like a freaking person, does not deserve the rights of a person. It doesn't take genius to figure that out. But our 940 billionaires are like, yay. You know what Tesla thinks? Well, the people showed you what they think of Tesla. So, there's things like this that we need to keep in mind. But right now, he's in a real conundrum. And he's going like this. He's really in the middle on a lot of things because he's got to remember, too, he will leave behind a legacy. And there will come a point where he's no longer there. He's what, 70? I know he's in his 70s. 78? I think he is, too. Yeah. Yeah, of all of them, he's probably aged the best, right? Just sitting back there cool as a cucumber. I can do this. But we've seen a little bit of a turn, and I hope it stays that way. Not going too crazy. And the one thing that he stood up for was judges. As soon as Trump started making those comments against judges, and we need to get rid of judges and blah, 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 it was him that put out the statement that that's no way to behave. You can't get rid of a judge just because you don't agree with what their opinion was. So we need to keep that in mind.
We've also got to look for I've encouraged people that I don't know if your alma mater is a Big Ten school, but even if it's not, right, as an alma mater, when you want to know that your university or your college is protecting those students that are coming in after. And I do think that we need to support.
Excellent point. So what Gail brought up was what's happening with DEI at the university levels and the advanced education levels, especially Big Ten schools. And the way, like, Columbia folded like it was made out of friggin' popsicle sticks. Like, what the hell? Well, but you're fine. Yeah, but Northern's not a Big Ten school.
No, but it's still our school.
Well, but we're Kentucky.
I know.
Keep that in mind. I know it's kind of excuse-itis, but yeah, she folded a lot faster than I would have liked before she stepped away, I believe, right? But Harvard, hello, fight it. I love it. I love every minute of it. They want to talk about the fact that, they're going to get the government's going to take their grant money away. Oh, the government's going to take this, that, and the other thing away. Guess what? Part of Doge, or doggy, that's still my favorite word for that group. Part of doggy is getting rid of all the funds that are going out to various organizations, especially anything to do with education. They're losing it anyway, number one. And number two, the best way to fight back with that is for individuals to establish private grants and private scholarships, because they have no say over it if it's private, right? If I want to establish a scholarship at NKY, and I say, I'm going to put up X amount of dollars every year to pay the tuition for one person to go to NKU, and I want it to be somebody who's majoring in XYZ, I can add additional things to what I want my money to pay for. One of the biggest things we can do, if this is your thing, if education is your thing, if making sure that, people have the opportunity to go that might not otherwise have the opportunity to go, get 10 people together, get 20 people together, and sit down and talk and say, and be realistic. Don't be pie in the sky. We all want to be that, I'll put in $1 million. Sure you will, I'll raise $1 million. Sure you will. You take it from somebody that's tried very, very hard to raise lots of money for various things. It's not the easiest thing to do, but you get together with 10, 20 of your friends, your family, your coworkers, whoever is a like-minded individual and say, let's sit down and come up with a scholarship that we can offer and figure out, do we want to offer one whole tuition package for one student to make it through a whole year? Do we want to, divide it up so that maybe 5 or 10 students can get some partial assistance? I mean, let me tell you, when's the last time you bought a college textbook? My God. I mean, I still have mine. I ain't even gonna talk about how old those are. And I know what I paid for them back then. And it's like, people have always been, oh, you should sell those. But hell no, because I can't ever replace them for the price that I bought them at. No. Yes, ma'am.
You could bring this all the way down to Boone County. They just put out, they're not going to be hiring any nurses back in the schools. And so, special ed.
Allison. Right. Okay, so let's, to give an opportunity to catch up for the YouTube people here, one of the things that's come up now in relation to DEI is what's happening at the K through 12 schools, specifically in Kentucky. And if you paid attention to the tea leaves, you kind of could have saw this coming. But what's happening is this is the time of the year at the end of the school year that teachers get notified if they're going to still have their jobs next year or if they're going to not have their job next year. And what we're hearing is that pretty much anyone associated with special education, and what was the other area? That's something else. Oh, special education, nurses, hang on. Special education, nurses are being eliminated. The money, the funding for Head Start is not coming.
On the playground. They have to be someone there in that building to administer the medicine that those kids get.
Right. Right. A teacher is not allowed to distribute prescription medication. I don't know about you all. Right. As someone who has children, I cross the line. I have children who are millennials. I have the bottom of the pile is Gen Z. So, I remember the days when my oldest ones were still elementary age and you would get a phone call, and your child is running a fever. Can we give him a Tylenol? And I sat there dumbfounded on the phone like, yes. Daunting to me. Then it kind of moved along, and the next step was, can you come to school and give your child a Tylenol, right? And then it got to, we have to have a note or we can't even give your child Tylenol. They weren't allowed to distribute over-the-counter medications at all. It has to be a prescription or something that your doctor, your pediatrician gives you to take to school, to leave in the nurse's office that lets them know what medications your child can take, even if they're over-the-counter, and that's one issue. One. Right. Well, I'm just saying, trying to keep it as simple as possible for the majority of people to understand. You know, this is how things are moving. This is where things are going, and we need to be able to fight back. Now, I've been thinking about special.
ESL, all got pink slips. That doesn't relate to the images. So those students don't have anyone.
Okay.
So I knew it wasn't.
Right.
County
So ESL
pink slips.
stands for people who don't know and for people on YouTube, ESL stands for English as a Second Language for students, which is very important for our immigrant population. And now in some counties, all are eliminated. So here's something, another fact that I'll throw at you that's really important is, you know, last year, or was it last year, 2024, yes. In the state of Kentucky, we had more deaths than births. Kentucky has an aging population because young people do not want to stay here. They grow up and they leave as soon as possible. They grow up, they go to college out of state, and they don't come back. However, overall, Kentucky still showed population growth. 80% of that population growth was immigration. And it was immigration from outside the country. I want you to look at any of the businesses, the most recent businesses that have come to the state of Kentucky and where they originate. Because you bring in big business, you bring in their employees. But if you look over the past, 5-10 years, what does that trend look like? Because the more extreme Kentucky gets, the less people want to come here, right? The other 20% of the growth was in-state, in the United States immigration. So people coming here from other states, but that's largely because Kentucky is often marketed as a great place to retire. So if all your population growth is people who have retired, and you're expecting to balance your state's economy on the back of the oldest people in the state, what does that look like going forward? So these are, and I know this is a lot. I know we've covered a lot, and I know I've gone bam, 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 bam through a lot of topics. But I'm going to go back to kind of what Gail said when Amy was up here, which is that our feelings all get tied up in all these things popping up at once. And sometimes you feel like, oh my God, every day I'm feeling more and more. And one day it's all this anger, and one day it's all anxiety. And, another day it's you watch the stock market and what's going on with that. And, I think maybe I need to go to the White House with a string of garlic around my neck. I don't know if that would help, but I'd be glad to do it. Going, what the bleep is going on? I know people who have said that they cried when they looked at their 401k program. Oh, you can't trick me when I'm on a roll now. Come on.
Well, then we'll all be going for the $5.
Right? And those are disappearing. Look at all the businesses that are disappearing. Things that were staples of my childhood, right? I am Gen X as Gen X can be. Things that were around in my childhood are disappearing. My God, when Frisch's closed, you would have thought I would. I'm like, there isn't one left, freaking out. My mother, God love her, when she was alive, if she had been alive when Frisch's went down, and you take away her number 5 breakfast, my Lord, that would have been all she wrote, because during my mother's time, that was huge. My grandparents' time, that was huge. It's such a greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky staple that it was just like, of all the things. Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. Right. Right. And I get that. And there are going to be people that are like that. People that have more time. And as someone else pointed out, our little wider, little wiser people in the room may have more ability and more time to pay attention to these things and can do things because they are retired and have more time to devote to more than one topic. But that doesn't mean we can allow, younger people to not be. We still need to ingratiate them. We still need to beg, borrow, steal, whatever it takes. Come join us.
And over what services their kids are going to get.
Say that again?
That's where they can get involved with.
Where they can get involved with, where younger people can get involved is with their kids and what services are or are not going to be there. And that's going to be a very personal battle for me because I do have a grandson who we almost lost when he was 4 months old, and I've been fighting with my daughter every single day to make sure that he gets the very best that he can get. And those things are disappearing before he even gets to the age where he's going to need them. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Okay. Hang on, I'm going to stop you right there. So we're talking, for those on YouTube, we're talking about special education. We're talking about the law that established special education what year? 1974. At that time, it was said that funding for special education children to receive, are we, okay. Okay, so when you say in the amount of 40%, are you talking about the federal government said that they would pay 40% of the cost for each child who required those kind of services, but it's never even reached 20%? Sorry, I'm not going to beat you in the head, really. It's in the teens. Okay. Right.
So what's happening now is the way that these federal funds trickle down to local school districts is federal grants through the Department of Education, the federal Department of Education, trickles down to each state, and they, based on their formula, then send it to local school districts, specifically to use for students' respective needs.
Right.
Why did all this happen in the first place?
Well, let me,
This happened in the first place. Was because parents, children with special needs were on legislators like everything else. They were never met with the parent of a child with special
I will agree with you to a point.
What's happened over time is that parents have become more comfortable with,
Yes.
first of all, they know the law, so that they can hopefully sit as equal partners at the table when children's initial all their IEPs. their children will always have these services. What I am saying, that's happening this long, is that we need to encourage parents to
Okay.
defend the rights of their children to have free, appropriate public education in school.
Okay, I agree with you, but I'm going to cut you off because you've actually crossed about a couple of topics that I don't know if you are aware of or not. Okay? So, let's talk about how special education kids get funded, how those services get funded. Because it is not just a piece of the pie from one area. It's not like, hold on. It's not like the federal government has a pie here that says this is for special education. We're going to fill it up every year to meet this need. It's not how special education funding works. No. And one thing that I've tried to make really, 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 really clear to people, and I too, as a former teacher, as well as a parent of a child who needed special education from the beginning to the end. Parents don't know the law. I would argue with you on that all day. All day. It's gotten too complicated. It's gotten too convoluted. And I would never, to this day, I still have people from the community reach out and ask questions as far as me being an education advocate for people that go into those IEP meetings. I've gone into IEP meetings, both for myself as well as with other people. So when you say free and appropriate education, right? Okay, but what I'm saying is this, the federal government by law has to provide a free and appropriate public education, and appropriate as interpreted by the law is for the child, not for the school. And there are too many people that don't know that, right? Because what do you see? And you go into a public school, if you've ever had any dealings with the special education department, and it's, we don't provide that service. We only do X, Y, Z. And you have to stand your ground. Hold on, please, 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 please.
Even if you don't feel comfortable standing up,
Right.
it's not that your school has it or not. It's whether or not.
And that's what I'm trying to explain to you, though, is that a lot of the services that you're talking about, because with special education children, we often go into speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, what else? There's all kinds of accessory things that are considered part of special education, but who pays that? Who pays it? One word. Who pays that? Medicaid. Okay? Kentucky is a welfare state. Kentucky is a welfare state. We take more money from the federal government than we can put in. It's approximately, $2.50 to 1? $2.50. We take out $2.50 for every dollar we put in, something like that, right? So when you hear these legislators complaining about, we in California, we don't want to be like New York, guess who's paying our bills? They are. They are. You want to talk about taxpayers having a right to say where their money goes? They should have a right to say where their taxpayer dollars that come to Kentucky, what they're going to freaking fund and what they're not going to fund. But they don't. And now, because of all the cuts, okay, the top 2 areas where Kentucky uses federal dollars. Number 1, Medicaid. Number 2, education. What do you think anybody's going to do about any of this? Nothing. Because once that federal money gets pulled, the state of Kentucky does not have enough in the rainy day fund to make up for it. People are going to lose. Kids are going to lose. These services are going to go away. They're not going to stay. No matter how much you go out, I go out and scream and complain and write and protest, this is the way it's going to be unless it gets stopped at the federal level. because this is the way the train is rolling right now. So you've got to focus big picture. You can't go down into the minutia because you'll get lost there. I think they do realize, because my news feeds are full of people. Why? Why? You've got Linda McMahon, whose husband runs the WWF, who has said in front of a camera, my job is to work myself out of a job. I'm not telling you to be hopeless. I'm telling you to concentrate your efforts where they can do the most good. Right? Yeah, Congress, do your job. Hang on one second. Let me add on. What? Go ahead. Hang on, guys.
Right now, special ed teachers, special ed programs across Northern State and states are having their competency to form the IEP, Indivisible Education Plan, with children. And these parents are not going to understand until they get to give IEP to see what it's like. I believe that when the changes fall into place and the kids don't get the services in the fall, those parents, we may see them in our meetings, because these are either parents that don't understand this from the rural small schools don't get, the poor that don't get. The kids from the upper echelon, those parents show them water. Yeah, make no mistake.
Here.
They will come.
Well, nobody needs to hire a lawyer, because we do have a thing in Kentucky called the Children's Law Center. Okay.
So when the fall comes and the kids don't get the services, or they scale these IEP plans, and they're trying to do that, so that they don't have to provide the services. I believe in the fall, it's going to be a tornado nest like none they've seen.
If here's the thing. When we're talking about special education, we're talking about, I'm trying to get it to where the people on YouTube can understand. Ladies, please, because I got to catch people up that can't hear you when you're talking, right? One of the big issues that has come up is the fact that we're now at the point where IEPs are being written for individual education plans. If you're not familiar with the acronyms, I feel like we talk in acronyms so much anymore. The English language is going to go away like handwriting. But so one of the problems is those are being written now for next year. The worry is that parents are going in uninformed or uneducated about what their options are but still a significant portion, it sounds like you're worried about, who do not understand what services are being cut, why they're being cut, and that it won't hit until next fall. This is where I challenge every teacher, because I can guarantee you if I was a special education teacher employed by a school right now, I would absolutely 100% do this at the risk of losing my job. They need to speak up, and they need to say, look, this funding is going away. This is all we're allowed to give you for next year. Do with that information what you will. It is not against the law for a teacher to tell the truth.
This is why we're going.
I mean, yes, do you have to consider, is my job on the line if I say this? You know, yes, you have to consider that. However, it also doesn't have to be in a meeting in front of your principal or your superintendent. It can be in a meeting with the parents. Is your job worth it if you don't get to do the work that you want to do?
But we have to be their voice, because we're not.
Get together. I've been thinking about this for months. I would not be surprised, and I think it would be the smartest move, if those educators for whom special education is their area, their livelihood, their everything, open a private school themselves. Offer those services for a school that is nothing but special education. What happens if 10 of you get together and you decide on an age group, whether it be, because that's how it's done now, right? It's done now where you're either in an elementary school, middle school, high school. You 5, 10 of your friends get together and say, guess what we can do? I know I can handle X amount of kids a day. I know I can handle X amount of kids a day. Get together and do it. Pretend it's a homeschool. Any parent, any person in this room right now can declare their home a homeschool. Why can't you? What's No, what I'm saying is people who are, losing their jobs, people for whom the special education period. What are you going to do if you don't, who are you speaking for if you get fired? The point is, the students, if you get fired, if an entire special education department disappears, who are you speaking up for if you just get fired? That's what I'm talking about. Get together with the people that are fired. Help them establish a place so that these kids can get the help that they need, because their parents don't know how to provide it. While I agree with you, what's the option? What's the option if the federal government comes down and says, we aren't funding this anymore, and the state of Kentucky doesn't have the money to make it all up anymore, and you have 120 county public school systems plus the independent school systems. Private schools are not required to provide it at all. And that's where they want this system to go. So keep that big picture in mind as well. That's where they want this to go, is for everybody to be required to send their kids to private school. Right? So this is not, is it a simple fix? It's not a simple fix. Do I think anything that comes out of my mouth is the be all end all? I don't. I'm just offering suggestions because I myself, I have a bachelor's degree with a forensics focus in biology. I also have a minor in chemistry. I have a minor in anthropology. I have my master's degree in teaching. Science is my freaking life. I love it, love everything about it. And they have shut down every scientist that I admire, that I look for when it comes to healthcare or anything else related to science. I have thought a million times about opening up my home and bringing high school students to my home so that I can educate them on biology, chemistry, physics, anything you can think of. Is it the be all end all? No. Is it a potential answer? Why not? Why not have, if schools are eliminated, if different departments are eliminated, you have all these teachers out here not teaching, which is what they love to do, not helping the students in need, which is what they love to do. What can we do as adults to help them? It's just a thought. Cindy, go ahead. Right. Right. I know. I 100% agree with you. What I'm saying is this. You have what's happening on the federal level, and you have what's happening on the state level. And everybody needs to keep that in mind. Okay, because on the state level, we have been extremely successful in fighting back. Right? I mean, every time vouchers has come down the pike, we have beat it back. I mean, to the point that even then president, and I can't remember if it was Bachuba or not, said that Northern Kentucky University, they wanted to declare in Frankfurt that Northern Kentucky University was going to be responsible for a new charter school that was going to go in Newport. NKY is like, oh, hell no. We ain't running that. We don't want anything to do with that. Public outcry was massive. And we were able to fight back against that also in the ballot measure. So we got to make sure that we are keeping state and federal different, because I agree with you. I love my public schools. I love my public school teachers. I think every child deserves a free and appropriate education that is appropriate for them. What I'm saying is we have to face the fact that we are up against a federal government who, most people don't understand that the Department of Education doesn't determine what the curriculum is in your schools. That happens at the local level. No matter how much they whine, cry, moan, and groan and talk about, I wanted to go back to the states. And that's what they're talking about, sending all of these things back to the states. But that doesn't mean that the dollars follow them, right? It's without the money. Well, but you're continuing to make my point for me, which I think I'm not looking to give up on anything. I'm looking to create alternatives. We do need our public schools, but your school closes tomorrow. You go to school and your doors are shuttered. The windows are shuttered. They're not letting anybody in. Everybody's fired. What are you going to do for those parents right there that day? What are you going to do for them tomorrow?
We no longer fund the others. Your job then also is for parents to know that they don't need.
True, I do know that.
That comes in mega. They claim their state is on the federal government, and people are really sorry.
Okay, but have you gone through the process with a student? Because I have. Good.
I was a special supervisor for
So how long did it take to get from point A to point B where that complaint got lodged and anything happened? Where anything positive towards your goal happened? Right.
but it was the system or almost immediate if you would have a number of lawsuits come against a local school system. And yes, these kids they need these services, but they can't get them anymore.
Right.
That's going to have impact.
So what's going to happen though is your state government is going to look at you and say, okay, we'll fund this. Tell us which one of these programs we should take it away from. Because that's what we are moving towards.
My problem is, in fact, my duty and obligation is to make sure that trial is
I agree with you. I agree with you. We're not abandoning anyone. I feel like we should have backups for anything that we talk about. Everything that everything. Well, we need unlimited people involved.
were the drivers initially. And I don't believe that anything can stop parents who want the best for their children if they get together and they know the law and they know how to attack the system. And I believe that it about what their rights are, about how all this system that we have, and it is complex work, so that you, in turn, can advocate by yourself for your son.
Do you know what the plan in Project 2025 is for these kids? Their plan is to put them in government-run schools where, at the time that they would enter school, if they cannot learn like hang on. Okay.
And I don't know if you realize that yourself. You're telling me I shouldn't bother to have this.
I'm not No. What I'm saying is be prepared. Okay, I feel like we're kind of at an impasse here, and I want to get past it. I apologize if that's the way what I said was interpreted. I think that for every topic that we discuss, we should always have alternative plans. I think every single person in this room, every single person in this group, every single person that follows us has been fighting against Project 2025 ever since we found out about it and started getting together. So, but that doesn't mean, just because we're fighting against it, doesn't mean you don't know what the plan is and what's coming, because they have made huge strides towards getting there. I would much rather people be prepared and say, this is the end game, so if they get there, what can we do? It's too late to go to court and fight if they make it there. That's my point. You have to have, I think you have to do both. You fight and you build alternatives so that if the worst happens, you know, okay, if this happens, we can go here and do this, participate in that. That's what I'm saying. If parents who have kids in special education aren't educated already and they've had kids in the system for 2, 5, 10 years, what do you propose is done different? Yes, sir. Bring it, Derek. It's not. Yes, yes. Thank you. Right.
With their comfort.
Well, I mean, I agree with Derek, and I'm going to leave it at this. It is not an either or. It's an and also. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So, anyway, one thing that I want to bring up about de-escalation. Sure. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Get involved. Right. Yes. And I'll make it even simpler than I've been screaming for a decade. Butts in seats. We can't change anything until we get butts in seats. No amount of complaining, no amount of protesting. They've proven that. They've weakened our ability to protest in the state of Kentucky this year. Right? They're going to keep putting the screws down, keep trying to quieten people until we get butts in seats. And without that, without everybody out there knocking on doors, making phone calls, donating if you can, getting your friends involved, being involved in the party yourself, or the electoral process in some way, if every single person isn't willing to do that, along with the protesting, the letter writing, the postcards, and everything else, you have to do both. You have to. Otherwise, you might as well just tie your hands behind your back. All right, let me move on. I hear you. So, I want to bring up something that happened at our Mall Road protest, which was phenomenal, by the way. Biggest protest we've ever done in all the time that we've had this group up and running. Our estimates between Roberto and I were around the 650 to 700 mark, if you didn't hear, which was absolutely fabulous. We did go from end to end on Mall Road. Unfortunately, no matter how hard I tried, I could not make it from end to end. Because every time I moved to a different section of the sidewalk, somebody else was like, Ann, I need this. So I was ping-ponging around a lot. But there was a situation where there were two cars next to each other, and anybody who was there knows the traffic was crazy that day. You would have thought it was Christmas time. I mean, we had standing traffic. Well, and I literally watched as one car pulled around the corner to get on Mall Road. It was right there by Burlington Coat Factory. And one car just kind of went and crashed right into the ass end of another car. And I'm like, I just watched that in real time. I was like, I don't know. But we had two cars sitting next to each other. None of our people were involved. I want to make that extremely clear. But they were people with two different belief systems. One of them was going down the road, honking, cheering, waving, supporting what we were doing and saying. The other person was, Trump 2024 and all that kind of stuff. So this turned into a food fight in between the two cars, where the one lady threw French fries at the driver of the other car, and they went in her car. Then that driver decided to retaliate. Both women, telling you, women are each other's own worst enemies. I'm just telling you. So, and then the lady decided to retaliate, so she took her drink and chugged it back in the other lady's car. But when she did, it hit the other driver's 80-year-old mother in the side of the head. So, then they're out of their cars, right? And an older woman who's been a part of our group for quite a while tried to de-escalate the situation, but got too close. because she stepped off of the sidewalk into the street and was, trying to be, hey, can't we calm down and talk about this and everything? And she got shoved to the ground, cracked her head, shattered her glasses. All for being a good Samaritan. Not involved in the original back and forth at all. So, what I'm going to do to cut on time, because I want to talk about this more important, when it comes to de-escalation, I realize, and I'm terrible. I fully admit one of my worst habits is this. As a mom of 3 teenage boys, this is my go-to pose. Whether I mean to be intimidating or not, 99.9% of the time it's not. It's just, this is my go-to comfortable pose. My hips out, my arms across my chest, and people think, my God, you are a raging bitch. And sometimes it works in my favor, sometimes not. But, that's not the kind of thing we can do in public in front of other people when there's heated, especially if we're at these public events where there can be pushback. So far, we have been very lucky. There's not been a lot of that, but I think as things become more and more intense, the greater the possibility that will happen at some point. So I want to make it very clear, I don't want nobody steps off the curb. Even if you're the Good Samaritan with your eyes and arms and everything else open, as neutral as you can be, hey, soft voice, everything that they tell you to do, you can still get drawn into, you can still get hurt. So don't ever close the gap between yourself and another person in opposition on one of these issues or at one of these events, all right? No matter how well-intentioned you may be. And I can see you doing it. I totally can see Judy doing it. She's just a big-hearted person who wants to love everybody and take care of everybody. And she'd be like, hey, it's okay, clap. And I would be devastated. So remain calm. I change the setting. That's not something we're going to talk about because when we're at a protest, you can't change the setting. Right? Unless you walk away, which is always a perfectly fine option. If you just decide, walk away. I think one of the hardest things for all of us, because it's human nature, is when somebody is taunting you to be able to keep your calm or to walk away. Or when you're very passionate about something. I know we all get passionate about everything. And I'm sorry if I came off that way to you. I get it. We all have our truck issues that we're all keyed up about, and emotions are heightened. We've just got to, and for lack of a better saying, we've got to be the bigger person. Right? Because you don't know when you're looking at that person standing across the street if they're carrying a gun or any other weapon. We don't want that at our events. We have been about, from the very beginning, peaceful protest. We have had anti-protesters in opposition to us before. We've never had an issue. The thing that happened on Mall Road is the worst that we've experienced since 2017. I hope to never experience anything like that again, only because it's not about hurting each other physically or otherwise. It's about the issues at hand. And I do believe there is a way to debate and be respectful and civil and everything else, even when your blood's boiling, although some days I'm better at it than others. Respecting personal space comes into what I just talked about in terms of you never close the gap, because that's automatically going to make the other person aggressive. It's automatically going to make the other person feel like they have a right to come back at you if you're stepping into their space. Listening. I'm better at this with my kids, or I was, in terms of being able to pretend you're listening when you know that the other person is saying things that are just going to set you on fire, right? If you got somebody across the street, Trump, and all the things that they come off with, you know, he's the best thing ever, whatever they can say, just nod your head. Just nod your head. You don't have to reply. You don't have water off a duck's back. Right, you can't. Some people are better at it than others. We do have our evil queens. Looks like one of them left already. You know who I'm talking about. So we, who are like, they're ready to get into it and just, blah, blah, blah. That's a great way to relieve stress sometimes. I think that's why there's so many more keyboard warriors today than there ever were before. How brave can you be when you're sitting on a keyboard on Facebook? Oh, yeah. They don't know who you are. They don't know where you are. Anything. You can say anything you want. I've been called everything but a white woman. I just run with it, brother. If it makes your day, go ahead. Yes, ma'am. You got mooned? That's not fair. I missed that. Dang. The last thing on here, empathize. The last thing, empathize, is really, 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 really hard. I can empathize with just about anybody on anything except for what's going on with this administration and the state of our country right now. It's very hard. I get that. So default to the one before it. Oh, it's going from here to here, but making that humming sound, showing your finger every once in a while. Imitate that emoji. I get you. Let's see. Get down. Body language. You sort of talked about that. Better to do this than to do this. You guys know that. This is, open, whatever. Slow, deliberate movements. I prefer nobody move. I think you're safer. If you, slow, or I'm one of these, side to side, because I'm one of those people that usually when I'm talking, I always have to be in motion in some way. So I'll just, type of a deal. Neutral and attentive facial expression. Yeah, that's really hard. These seem like such common sense things, but we all know when we get passionate, when we're fighting for something, when it's really important, and it's hard. I mean, the best thing we can all learn how to do is either ignore or grab the bull by the horns, and I'll be explaining what I mean by that in just a second. Let me get to this last one. All right. Speak calmly. Monitor your volume. Slow your speech. Now, I have one of those children who is the biggest sarcastic you-know-what on the planet. And if I told him to slow his speech, he would be like, what do you mean? Right. But if I slowed it down like that in front of a person in opposition, that's going to piss him off just as much as what I was going to say anyway. So within reason, inflection.
We can have problems with that.
Well, and I will say this. I have a problem with some of the suggestions on the bottom, but these are from the experts, so we're going to do what they say. Instead of saying calm down, say, I can see that you are upset. It drives me insane, drives me personally insane. And we all have our own little glitches. When somebody tries to talk to me like they're a therapist when they're not, with all the I statements, I hear you. I just want to go, I bet you do. Right? I know you don't. Right? I want to help. What can I do? Now, I will say that, really. I will say this. I like that, and I use it a lot. A lot. Don't tell somebody how you're going to help. Ask how you can help. Never, ever, ever. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come to your meeting for you, and I'm going to bring all kinds of stuff with me, and I'm going to explain all that. No. Ask, I prefer, instead of, I want to help, what do you need and how can I help? In tandem, you know? Never tell somebody what you're going to do for them. Never, never, never. I understand that you feel if you come with me with that and we aren't sitting in an office, I'm not paying you $200 an hour. Don't use that phrase on me, please. May I speak with you? Gets me. May I speak with you? I like that a lot. The other thing is, getting back to my point about taking the bull by the horns, when talking with people of the opposition, I think it's best done in a structured environment. It's one thing that I've been working really, 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 really hard on, very deliberately. Hopefully a lot of you are aware that I was on 55 KRC, conservative radio. I'm not saying it for pats on the back. I'm just saying I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it because I was, okay, what's this type? What's this going to be like? God love her, Carol, who she was real cute when she brought it up afterwards because she said, man, he sucker punched you with that one question. I'm like, it was a good experience. I think I learned a lot. I thought it was really funny that the first like 10 or 15 minutes we were in agreement on everything. Every single thing we were in agreement on. I said, nobody. I don't care if they're registered Democrat, Independent, Republican, Green Party. Nobody is going to tell you that government shouldn't be more efficient. Right? Nobody is going to tell you that government shouldn't decrease spending. I will tell you not to take a sledgehammer to it. That's the problem. It's not what you want to do. It's how you're going about it. You know, if I bought a new company that was owned by somebody else, of course I'm going to go in and evaluate every department. Of course I'm going to find out if there's ways we can cut costs. But I'm going to go department by department, and I'm going to go to whoever's in head of a department. Okay, tell me about your people and how you evaluate them and what you think of them and blah, 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 blah. What do you think could be better? Because nobody is going to say, my department's perfect. We do everything right. All our people are great. Nobody's going to tell you that. Because they're going to think their job's on the line. So they're going to tell you, man, I've been wanting to fix this for 5 years. It's not what happened. They went in with that sledgehammer and went, and just all the systems, all the people, the buildings, everything gone. There was no plan. It was just chaos. But my point being that we got to the point of the conversation where he said, okay, Ann, this has been real interesting and everything, and I want you to stay on, which I thought was great. And he was like, but your people and my people need some red meat because they're not going to like us agreeing all the time. And I was like, oh, heaven forbid we should agree on anything. So I said, okay, let's give them some chum. What are we going to talk about? And I brought up immigration because it was so hot. It was when Mr. Abrego Garcia, it was right when that story was really hot. And I wanted to talk about the lack of due process. But that's where he got me because he spun it into, what about the billions of dollars that are spent on, people, illegal aliens that are here? I would say we've been invaded. And I was like, okay, whoa. And so we went back into this back and forth, but I never did get back around to due process. So I'm learning about the spin and how to do that. And so as it happens, I've been invited to do a conservative podcast on Friday. So I'm going to do another round. So we'll see how it goes. And I really like William Woods. He's a conservative from Northern Kentucky. If any of you may be friends with him, know him. So I'm going to go on his podcast and we'll see how it goes. All right, last but not least, I wanted to touch on this. The last time we were here, last time we had our meeting, we had people sign up for different teams and things. And I want to make sure where we're at with people. It was everybody in this room right now here at our meeting last month. Okay. So what we did is I had big posters around the room and we had people sign up for various teams, committees to help keep us abreast of what's going on in different areas around Northern Kentucky. And I'm gonna list out what I had. I had immigration, I had the county parties, I had digital media creators and warriors, communication, fiscal courts, city councils, education, state legislators, healthcare, and then people who were interested on being on our board as we work towards developing this group into, a business, a legal entity, so that we can do various things. There are some things we can do without that. There are things that we can't do unless we get it. So anyway, if you want to be involved, what I want you to do is I want you to think about what areas are most important to you, whatever one of those that may be. But I want to work on another area as well, which is community engagement. Back when the original flooding happened in 2022, Amy and I took a little trip. We worked for about a week, I think, to get donations from all over northern Kentucky. And we rented a Penske truck and packed it full. I mean, that sucker was massively full. It was crazy. And drove down to Jackson, Kentucky, and took it all down there to be delivered for flood victims in need. These are the kind of projects that I think are great for us to take on, for us to be engaged in the community in any way and every way we can. I know that Carol, who had to leave, is very involved with Kentucky Refugee, Ministries? I think that's it, KRM. And would know ways that we could help that community. We've already interacted with Nadia from USA with Ukraine. If that is still an area that you really want to help with, we will connect people with that organization, and we'll work with them, try to come up with another project, because we already did the bridge thing for them to try to bring awareness to what was going on in Ukraine. So I'd love to work with them again, or get people to them to be able to work on that. And I want to know any other groups that people are passionate about. If there is an education group, let me know. Whether they need school supplies or whatever the case may be, where we can volunteer and take up collections, or, have some special kind of day. I know Boone County does a shit ton of work as far as providing for their kids, especially at the elementary level. Fill the bus and all that kind of stuff. Who? Okay, see, I'm less, probably because of my, decade-long commitment to Gail, I'm less aware of those activities in Kenton and Campbell than I am in Boone. And I don't even live in Boone County. I just know they do it all the time, and they do a really good job. So things of that nature, anything we can do for the school system to help, I'm always happy to do. All right, Thursday. What? Go ahead. You went to the fiscal court reading, yes? Oh, okay. Yes. I'm very aware of their activity. That would be a good one. I feel like you need to be blessed twice. Once for doing that, but laundry? Yeah. Yeah. That's probably like one of my least favorite jobs. They could ask me to vacuum, and I'd rather do that. Okay. Right. And what I'm waiting for is kind of to get some of these lists a little bigger. Some of them aren't going to be any bigger. For example, we have 3 county parties that we talked about for right now, Kenton, Boone, and Campbell. And I have people that are willing to go to the Kenton County and Campbell County meetings. I got nobody signed up for Boone. So if somebody wants to go to the Boone County Democratic Party meetings every month to find out what's going on and keep us abreast of that, it'd be great. I'll be there. What else? Okay, fiscal courts. I've got Derek and Linda, Roy and Peggy, and then Linda Shea, who all signed up for Kenton County. So if you guys, want to get together and trade off, Or if you know, this month you're going to be out of town during the meeting, you can always tell the other people, hey, we won't be able to make it. Or you just continue to see each other there and talk about what you learned type of a deal. City councils. We got a long way to go on city councils. I have Fort Thomas, Kentonville, Erlanger, Covington, Bellevue, Crestview Hills, and Ludlow covered. If you live in a city that is not one of those and would be willing to attend your city council meetings on a regular basis, that would be amazing. I appreciate you letting us know, your name and what city you want to keep track of. Education. I really thought this was only going to be 3. Because I was thinking Boone, Kenton, and Campbell school boards, but I do know there are some independent school boards. So I've got somebody signed up for Fort Thomas, which I know they have an independent school. Somebody put Crescent Springs. If they're an independent school, that's what I thought. So that would be Kenton County. Ludlow's independent. Bellevue's independent. And Covington's independent. No, there are a lot of independent school districts up here. So anyway, Beechwood, yeah, I should know that since it's my alma mater. Back in the days when our school was in one building, now it's grown into this monstrosity that I no longer recognize. All right, so if anybody wants to attend boards of education meetings monthly, let me know that you want to do that and which one you want to follow. State legislators. I have somebody who is in the Dietz-McDaniel area that's going to follow those 2. I have somebody in the Proctor-Rawlings area that somebody is following. Everybody else, up for grabs. So if you are willing to, pay attention either on their social media or get signed up for their emails, regular emails. If you know who your state representative and your state senator are and you're willing to keep up with them, let me know. Let me know who they are and that you're willing to keep up and follow them. Healthcare. There's a word I haven't heard in 100 years. Jackwagon. I like that. Healthcare. Yeah. Healthcare. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people for whom healthcare is an issue. I want to, set up something very soon to start getting everybody into action and find out, I want everybody who's interested in this to pick a leader, basically, one person to report to about various activities all across the counties, because a lot of times, people do these things without communicating. And so Campbell County doesn't know what Boone County's doing, doesn't know what Kenton County's doing. So to be able to have a variety of people to keep up with anything you see in Lincoln NKY or Boone County News or whatever the case may be that has to do with healthcare. If healthcare is your issue, keep track of that and we'll get these people connected. That's my next big thing for this week is email. Yes, ma'am. I could. We could do you want me to do it on Signal? What? All right, who here knows what I mean when I say Signal? Oh my goodness. You do or do not? Okay, you do know. All right, so online safety is a huge issue right now. So everything that we are doing is trying to make people more and more safe, which means backing off from a lot of social media because it's just not safe. Anybody can get on there and get your information. In fact, one of the latest things that I listened to was about, and I know Roberto's big on this, is making your phone more safe because of how easy it is to get your information off your phone. The most recent advice out there in terms of that is to not do a voice recording for your message on your phone because people can steal your voice and use it to get other things. So, Signal is what we're using for people to be able to get text message notifications. For people who don't like a ton of emails, who don't want to be on social media, Signal is an alternative. If you are interested in being a part of our Signal notification group, here's what I'm going to tell you. Get on your phone, download Signal, get yourself signed up, and then find me under my phone number. Are you still rolling or are you done? Okay. Can we cut it? Hey guys, for you 8 people online, we're going to cut it now so I can share some information. Thank you. See you next month.